Hey everybody, it's Anne the Stamp Maven here. It is Monday night at 7 o'clock and that means it's Facebook Live time. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make this fun little fun fold flip up card. It's even got a little secret place here on the back to write a fun note. So I want to thank you all for popping in tonight. I'm going to spin around my camera and we'll get started. I hope everybody has had a great Monday. All right, here we go. Hopefully I didn't make you too seasick here. Let me get it established. Perfect. All right. Tonight, I am going to be using this Berry Blessing stamp set and this fabulous designer series paper. If you haven't seen this yet, this is what you get free. It's a free celebration choice when you spend $100. Isn't this paper fun? It actually coordinates with something that is in our mini catalog, but tonight I'm just going to be using some of this paper. All right, so I'm going to create this easy fun fold card. Now, I don't know about you, I am very busy. I have a full-time Stampin' Up! Business, and I have another full-time job. I'm an HR manager for a company here in the North Texas area. So I like to create simple cards. Now, simple does not mean plain or boring. It just means maybe not doing quite as much over-the-top embellishment. Of course, or embellishing, I should say. Of course, I've been known to do that too. But tonight, we are talking about easy peasy done. Now, I want you to stick with me until the end because I'm going to show you the projects that I'll be teaching in my Fabulous Fun Folds online class on Thursday. Now, if you have any questions as we're going along, type them into the comment box. And if I don't get to them on the live, I'll definitely answer them on the recording. And there we go. All right. Now, we are going to start with a piece. I've done some of this ahead for you. We are going to start with a piece here of our shaded spruce cardstock. It's 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. But the thing is, we are going to only need part of this. Now, normally I would not use a whole piece like this, but I didn't have a scrap cut. So I'm going to just go ahead and use that card base size. I'm going to cut this. Let me wait a minute here. We are going to leave this piece just as it is. This is 5.5 by 4.25. All right. Now, the cool thing about this paper is each one of the 12 by 12 sheets has two different sides. Now, you could easily bring in some other designer series paper if you didn't like a pattern, but I loved this leaf pattern and what's on the back. So I'm going to take this designer series paper and I cut this down ahead of time to 5.25 by 4. I'm going to grab my silicone mat here. Do you have one of those? You need one. It just, not only when you use your adhesive does, let me move back up here. I think I got off screen. the adhesive will not stick to it, but when you are using the Seal Plus, if for some reason it will not advance, all you have to do is run it on this mat. It will advance it forward just a tad, and then your adhesive will freely flow. All right, so I'm going to put this down here, and what I like to do is I put down one corner, and then I kind of make sure it's straight, and then I get all my other corners down. So I get my even border all the way around. Now, the next piece we're going to use is, I've got a piece here of the Granny Apple Green cardstock. And this is 2.5 inches wide by 8.5 long. So when you fold it in half, score it and fold it in half, this gives you our little piece that is going to go right here on the front. And it's going to be our little flip-up fold. Now, the other piece that I need is right here. Now, I've got a little scrap that I have left over, and what I'm going to do, it is 2.25 inches wide, but it is a little bit long. So remember, this part here was 4.25, so I'm going to make this piece 4. Now, you want to pay attention to the direction that your paper is going. So if this is the top and I was going to put this down on here and I put it on my card, it would be upside down. And, you know, tonight I don't want it to be upside down. There might be time I do want it to be upside down if I'm making a goofy card for some reason. Probably not, but hey, that's the fun thing about creating. You can do it how you want. All right, now I'm going to take this little designer series paper. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get that corner here. I'm going to get it down here, get this corner where I want it, and then put the rest of it in. And then it is pretty even. Okay, now I'm going to show you something fun that we're going to do. When you're stamping sentiments, do you usually stamp on just a piece of white or vanilla cardstock? Well, look at here. We are going to actually stamp on this designer piece of paper. Now, we are going to take, I've already mounted my sentiment that I want, and it says, "You always have a way of making my day." And that is one of the sentiments in the Berry Blessings. Now, I had to think ahead because I wanted to punch this out. Now, here's a little trick. You may have already seen this. I knew I wanted to use this punch right here. So I punched out a piece, and I'll save the piece that I punched out for another card. But normally I would take this, then I would get my catalog, and I would find the stamp set that I wanted to use. And let's say it was this one right here. And I would start placing it right over the words, and then I can see, okay, what will work. So like here's another one. This punch actually is made for this stamp set, so we know these all fit. So since in the celebration catalog, this Berry Blessings, I wanted to show you, see right here, the sentiment is really small. So what I actually did is I took this punched piece and I just put it right over where it's the sentiment here, and I can see that it's going to fit just perfectly fine. So I know then I can take my ink pad and I'm going to use basic gray. The reason is sometimes, I don't know about you, but I think the black memento is a little harsh. So I am going to just ink it up with my basic gray. And since this is a photopolymer stamp, I'm going to get my Pierce mat and then I'm going to stamp it right here. I just hold it down for like just a few seconds to make sure that the ink transfers, and voila, it looks perfect. So now I'm going to pop that in here to my punch. Just line it up and make sure, voila, there's my piece. Okay, now, I don't know if you noticed on the front of my card, it's got a little border around here. Well, you could take your punch it out twice, and then adhere it on the top. But look here, I'm going to punch on this end. I'm going to punch it out again of my shaded spruce, and you can do this little trick with any punch that you have. Well, pretty much any punch I think it would work with. And let me clean off my hand. I got a little zealous and I got ink all over my fingers. Hey, when you stamp with me and watch my lives, I am just real. I show you my mistakes and other things so you can see, hey, I am just real here. All right, so let's close this up so I don't do that again. So now, here I've got my punched piece. All I'm going to do, and this does not have to be exact. If you want it to be exact, you can pop it in your trimmer. So I'm going to take now my little sentiment piece. I'm going to put some adhesive on the top and on the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in right here and I'm going to just make a little border here on the top. And I'm going to take this bottom piece of the punch and I'm going to stick that right on here. And look at that. Doesn't that look really nice, having that extra little border around there? Okay, now let's see. I wanted to give you another tip. Well, you know what? I'm going to wait for a minute on that. I want to stick to the front of this so I don't confuse you. All right, so now I've got my little piece right here, and I am just going to put this on the front. You could put it in the center. You could put it over here. You could actually do it like this. There's so many choices with this. I am going to put my adhesive on the back here. All right. And then I am going to stick it down with about maybe 3/4 of an inch. So that's going to be right there. And if you wanted, you could, like I did on this card, go ahead and put your white piece or vanilla, depending what your paper was. And remember, this dimension was 2.5 by 4 1/4. So this white piece then will be 2 1/4 by 4. Now, do you notice here that I have some gold twine on this? My little bow has kind of come off a little bit, so let me just get that loop back on there. I love this gold twine. It's from the Forever Fern set, but sometimes it can be a little tricky to deal with it. So let me show you another option if you don't want to use the twine. Okay, this is one of my favorite things that we sell. It is the crinkled white ribbon. Well, if you don't have a particular color of ribbon that you want, but you either have the Stampin' Blends or the Stampin' Markers or the ink pad, you know what? You can dye this ribbon. Now, my favorite is to use the Stampin' Blends because it dries so quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put off a piece here, and I am going to just run this down, pull it through with my Stampin' Blend. Now, of course, you might have to run it through a little bit more than once to get all the white. But look how easy that is. Now, if you do the marker, our Stampin' Right marker, or the ink pad, it works pretty much the same way. If you're using an ink pad, you'll want to just take a sponge, and then let's say this ink pad was open here. What you would do is you just put your ribbon in there, put this sponge on top, and run it through. If you had a marker, you'd do the same thing. The marker takes a little bit longer to dry, so you might have to dry it with your heat tool or just let it dry. But this is already dry with my Stampin' Blend, which is one of the reasons I really like it. So I've got that light shaded spruce, and on the front, I'm going to just tie a knot. Okay, and then we're going to pop off the edges. Now, I wanted to show you, let me get this tied first. Okay, and then all you do is just snip off your edges. But I wanted to show you a fun little trick. Let's say, and I'm going to leave this little knot ribbon on here, but I'm going to just show you, let's say we were going to do this. I might wind this around a couple of times like this. All right, and then we're going to cut off my tail. So here we go. Now, the way that I learned to make a bow where it will all turn out perfectly is to turn it upside down. So if you turn this card upside down and then you tie your bow here, all right, then spin it back around, then you're going to have your loops exactly, except I got it tucked under here just because my fat little fingers moved it. So let me get my scissors here and pull it out from under that. There we go. So see, then you're going to have your loop, and you can just pull these ends. And if you want, like I was mentioning, this gold sometimes, it is so slick, you might need to put a little glue dot right under the bottom of that to hold it. But if you remember to just tie your ribbon upside down, flip your card upside down, then your little loops and your ends will just be perfect. Okay, now we've got our greeting here. And I want to pop this on this little fun fold pop-up note rather than putting it over here. So the thing you need to remember is you do not want it to stick on both sides here. You only want it to be on this end. So notice here I used some of the edges of my dimensionals. Did you know that you could do that? So when you run out of the regular hexagon ones, don't throw it away. Snip those little babies. Okay, now I'm going to put that greeting here. Now, what's left? Back here, we have got another space for a little note. Sometimes just having a little space is good. You want to send somebody a card, but you do not want to write a volume. So that's where you can just do your little note right here. But let's say you are sending this card to somebody that is just one of your best friends, and you want to write a little bit more on there. So you can just take this extra little piece of white and you can stick it on the back of your card here. Now, here is my most favorite tip that I want to tell you. Okay, this is a photopolymer stamp set. Now, who has trouble with your photopolymer stamps getting stained? I don't know if you can see this well. I hope so. I have used several of these stamps, and I've stamped in red and green. And do you notice that they are not stained? Well, let me show you here how I did that. So I took, this is the strawberry right here. And what I did was, you can do this with any photopolymer stamp. Take your Versamark pad, and then when you get your stamp, just ink it up in this Versamark pad, stamp it off 2 or 3 times. Then when you go to stamp in your red or your green, that Versamark, I don't know exactly how it does it, but it's like it conditions it. So when you go to stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp right on where I want it on this card, I've got my strawberry right here. Okay, I've got it stamped. Now watch, I'm going to come in with my Stampin' Chamois, and I'm going to clean that off. And look, there is very little, if any, staining on that. The reds and the greens, for some reason, they stain more than the other ones. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to show you again, and I'm going to use the green this time. All right, and we need our little strawberry stem. So again, what you do when you first get your set, take it on that Versamark, get a scrap paper, stamp it 2 or 3 times, and now when I go into my ink and I pop that little strawberry top on there, there's my little stem. I'm going to take my chamois again, clean it off, and look there. I tell you, this works wonders. Now, honestly, if my stamps, I use them so much, and at my events and stuff, if it gets stained, you know, I don't really get that upset. However, you might want to keep your stamps pristine. So that is just a cool little tip. So let's finish this up by putting my Stampin' Seal, just quick, and see, it was not rolling. So again, just put out that little silicone mat and whoof, you got it, sister. Okay, let's pop that puppy on here. and corner, corner, smooth it down. And there it is. Here was our original. Very similar, just changed the ribbon here. Isn't that the quickest, most fun little card with the fun fold? Now, I told you that on Thursday, I am actually doing my first online Teach Me Techniques class of 2021. We're going to be doing 3 cards. One of them is going to be this really cool little corner flip card. There's a couple of my samples. Then we're going to do this. I'm going to undo it for you so you can see it. This uses celebration paper. This is, ooh, isn't that cool? It's a little panel card where you could either send this little panel card or do like I did and attach it like we did in tonight's little project on a quarter sheet. Then the other fold I'm going to teach is this cool W fold. Isn't that neat? And then here is another one that I did. And I'm going to give you all the measurements, the instructions, and I'm going to put a link after this live. So if you want to sign up for that class on Thursday, you can do it. What's really great about doing my classes on Facebook Live, I always record them and then I post the recording in our secret group afterwards. So if you want to watch it again and again and again, you've got it there. You'll have lifetime access to the group. You can ask me questions. You can post other things in the group for other people to see. It's just really a fun way to learn and to communicate. Well, it is almost 7:30. And I wanted to try to keep this to no more than a half hour. I know you've got a lot of things to be doing. So let me just flip this around quickly so I can say goodbye to you guys. And I hope maybe I'll see you on Thursday in class. If not, I'll see you next Monday night for another live. Check out my YouTube channel at Stamp Maven. Find me on Facebook at Stamp Maven. My blog is stampmaven.com. And if you haven't signed up for my email community, if you go to my blog at stampmaven.com, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little box where you can just put your name and your email. You'll get a free gift just for doing that, and it'll be a way that we can connect each week. So thanks again for popping by. Have a good night.